Hi, everybody. I hope you're well. Today is segment 9, Shakespeare to Stanislavsky. I keep this information for the very, very end because my belief is that if you start with this, is that your choices and the scene won't make the high points that are necessary. It won't go up the ladder and so that you're making bold, bold choices. However, it's very important to do this step because it's what puts the heart and the soul and the flesh on the structure. In the introduction, I said I was very lucky to have studied with the three sisters, who I lovingly term them, which was Stella Adler, Uta Hagen, and Mira Rustovna. All of them gave me important lessons that I have used these 41 years in my career. Stella did a lot of script analysis, and I have a portion that she did, and then Mira Rustovna gave me a completer version of it. And I want to be able to read both of them to you. Mira, who did study with Stanislavsky, one day looked at us and said, "You don't know how to dissect a play." And she gave us this lesson. Step 1, read the play 3 times. First, read it as an audience member. Second, read it as a detective, looking for all the clues that you can find. Third, read it then as an actor that must put all these clues together. In reading this, you must answer your given circumstances, and there will be a handout that shows you basic given circumstances. It's not a complete list, but it's a good solid list. You will find out what is your problem, what is your conflict. I need you to know that the word conflict can be internal and external. Many times people have one thing going on inside as a problem, as a conflict, and another thing going on outside. Benedict, his outside problem is that he really has to decide whether he's going to be in love with Beatrice or not be in love with Beatrice. His inside conflict is he's already in love with her. You must find what your obstacles are and what your goals are. You must play to win. You must avoid pain. You must invest in the text. You must give yourself simple tasks, and you must marry yourself to your doings. Your script is a blueprint or a roadmap, words that we have used all along. The play is an event that exists in space at a specific time in a specific place. So to start Mira's work, she talked about basic needs. She loved big American words because she came over from Eastern Europe when Hitler invaded, and she became an American, and she was an actress, but she ended up teaching because her English was very broken. So her basic needs, or her goals, she used as predilections of life. She loved that term. What that means is these are goals that must be achieved. These are needs that must be satisfied. And she said in life, there's 5 basic needs of how a character behaves. Stanislavsky says seeking one of these needs forces one to behave a certain way, gives you a dominating behavior, and he called this his super objective. Stanislavsky's books all still exist, and you can read them if you wish. The first basic need is survival. It prevents death. It involves issues of food, water, air, clothes, warmth, money. Again, its purpose is to prevent death. Desdemona, at the end of Othello, knows she's going to die, and she does everything to prevent death. She wants to survive. Love, the need to love or be loved, involves a mutuality, a sensuality, an intimacy, and a romance. This does not mean heterosexual or homosexual, transgender. It means love between any 2 people. It's the classic sense. And when you love somebody in the classic sense, they believe that you became one person, and that without the love of that other person, you would die. It can be mother-daughter, sister-sister, father-son, brother-brother. It can be husband, wife. It can be whatever two people say is their love. This existed until Henry VIII. When Henry VIII came along and he decided that one wife wasn't good, he decided he was going to get divorced, and all of a sudden, love took on a totally different meaning. It was temporary, where classic love is permanent. It's until the death. The third basic need is validation, self-worth. I count, I deserve respect because I'm a human being. If you have read the play Death of a Salesman, Willy Loman is the best example that I have ever seen of validation. He's always validating himself, saying, I'm the best salesman in the Northeast. My son, Biff, made 4 touchdowns last Saturday. I'm the best father in the world. He was always validating himself. We all validate ourselves every day when we get up in the morning and we put our clothes on. The clothes that you wear say 3 things. They say how much money you earn, what you do as a profession, and how much sexuality that you're going to show that day. When you have low-cut things, tight things, that says you're showing sexuality. This is something costume designers deal with all the time, every day. Even if you tell me that these are the only clothes that you have, that you haven't done your laundry in a month, I'm going to say you decided a month ago to choose these clothes to present yourself this day. The next basic need is to be happy, or happiness. The need to be happy makes you harmonious with the world. It relieves pain. It makes you feel pleasure. This one, she felt, was difficult for Americans to understand. I'm going to give you 2 examples. In the 1980s, when I was still transitioning from actor to director to teacher, I had time and I would go to a hospital known as Sloan Kettering in New York City that deals with cancer patients. A lot of the cancer patients were children who had leukemia. And I was a volunteer and I read stories to these kids. And it was a wonderful experience. And the kids were phenomenal. They only wanted to hug, smile, laugh. They just wanted to be happy. However, when I looked at their parents on the side and in the background, these people were tortured. For me, they lived on barbed wire and broken glass because their Sally, their Ema, their Jimmy could not enjoy Christmas, Hanukkah, any holiday, a sunny day, a snowy day, because they were dying of cancer. These people needed to be relieved of pain. They needed to be harmonious with the world. They needed to be happy. The second example I want to give you is I have in all these segments told you how fortunate I've been, seeing as I'm at the end of my career, in directing. And I was lucky to direct The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde twice. It's a play that pretty much works no matter what you do. It's guaranteed laughs. There's a character named Cecily. Cecily is young. She's the young ingenue. And every day she goes into the garden and she writes in her diary. My Cecily was having a hard time with this moment. She said, I just don't get it. I don't know what to do. It doesn't make any sense. As a director, I said, please think about it. Try it one more time after you've thought about it. And if you don't have any luck, I'm going to give you what I think she should do. So she tried it and it didn't work. And she said, please. And I said, in my opinion, Cecily is dying of boredom. Her bones are being crushed with boredom. And every day at a certain time, she goes into the garden to this place and writes in her diary for 20 minutes. And she fantasizes the most exciting dreams and wishes that she could possibly have to make her life rich and full. The actress looked at me and she said, that I can do. And it became a great moment. The last basic need is, number 5, is to win. This one is different than all the rest. Basically, it means to succeed, to be number 1, to have power, to be on top, king of the hill, But it's different in that this need is only satisfied if someone is killed, if someone dies. Iago in Othello, he doesn't care if his wife dies, if Othello dies, if Desdemona dies, if Cassio dies, if Rodrigo dies, as long as he becomes number one. Another example could be Tennessee Williams' Cat in a Hot Tin Roof. Maggie wants Brick back at all costs. She goes into Skipper's room. She takes her clothes off. She says, "Make love to me." He can't do it. She leaves, and Skipper goes out the window and commits suicide. Maggie played to win. If Skipper had to die to get Brick back, she did it. These basic needs, when you decide which one or ones you are doing, then must have a specific verb or doing attached to it to accomplish it, to satisfy it, to make it complete. Mira said that there were a set of basic needs that every play and almost every character did. It's not a complete list. It is only the beginning. These are the verbs that she gave us. In a lot of plays, actors will convince. Part of your job is to convince the other person. Another simple basic need, basic doing is to defy. We've talked about this in rhetoric. I agree, I disagree. Is it a yes line or is it a no line? Another basic doing is to chide, to rebuke, to disagree, to scold. Those are all synonyms. That happens a lot. Another one is to understand. Another, to find out. This short list happens repeatedly in a majority of plays. She then had a special list, and the special list on it, the first one was to admit, which means you give information with no editorializing. You just simply say it. You just give the facts. Today is Wednesday, August 5th. No editorializing, just the information. An example of admits were, if you're my age, or if you go back and watch old TV, Star Trek with a character named Mr. Spock. Mr. Spock only spoke in admits. No matter what was said to him, he just said it, he just gave the facts. Lots of times we have found when you say those really important lines like, I love you, I hate you, I'm going to kill you, they're just an admit. You just give the information. The words are so powerful, they do the rest. Next was to lament, which confused us as Americans because we thought it meant sadness. That's not what it means. To lament means it's out of my hands. There's nothing I can do about it. However, you always know you're lamenting when you begin the sentence with the word well. Well tells you this is a lament. What comes after that means is I can't do anything about it. I wish I could. In the old days, if you watch old TV, there was a wonderful comedian named Jack Benny who had his stock comic line was he'd hold his elbow, put his hand on his face, and he'd go, well. And audiences would just break up. Johnny Carson, again, showing my age generation, every night said, well, the old clock on the wall says it's 12:30 and NBC says I have to sign off. It's out of my hands. There's nothing I can do about it. She then put a disclaimer on the end. When you see this word, look for a humorous choice first. 9 out of 10 times, the playwright gave you the word well to tell you this is humor unlocking the pain. Then she did what she called demonstrations, again confusing us. The demonstrations are demonstrations of delight, demonstration of disdain, demonstration of scorn, demonstration of disgust, demonstration of surprise, demonstration of anger. I have translated these demonstrations to mean when your character is telling a white lie. I'll give you an example. When I'm in class, we pick on my favorite person, and I will say to Colin, Colin, we're going to pick on you. Is it okay? And he says, all right. We look at the class, and Colin walks in one day and says, I just got a part in a Scorsese film. And everybody looks at Colin and goes, Colin, that's wonderful. They demonstrate delight or surprise. But what are they really thinking? And you have to fill in the blanks because we're keeping this PG. And they think, why did he get it and I didn't? When I was young, really young, like 5 or 6 years old, my brother was 2 years older than me. And every day when our father would leave, he'd look at us and he would point his finger and he would say in an angry tone, behave yourselves. And then he would turn and smile and kiss my mother and leave. And we would always think, how could he be so angry in one moment and so happy in the next moment? Well, he wasn't really angry with us. He was trying to get us not to misbehave for our poor mother. So he was demonstrating his anger. What I want to do is go to my Stella Adler notes. And she led a very similar discussion that Mira did. She called it the seed of seeds. And she said, before there is an action, there is a need. Behavior comes out of necessity. There are needs and reasons for these needs. They're both saying the same thing. I need you to understand, you will study with many different people and they might say it in many different ways. It's up to you as the artist to choose which one makes the most sense for you. I have always tried to keep it simple. It's a need, it's something that you have inside and it takes an action to accomplish it. The last step, she says, attach every fiber of your being to your specific task, your intention, your goal, your objective, your need, what you want. Wed yourself to the purpose of accomplishing this task, fight hard to do it, and then something will occur. You will accomplish something in the here and now, which allows you to rely on the moment rather than the magic dust of feeling. To me, that was extremely important because so many of us at that time were only dealing with feelings. Stella said, this will direct the exploration to find the motivation for each moment. Invest in the text. You're given a simple task. Literally wed yourself to them with every fiber of your being. Most acting teachers steal the phrase with every fiber of your being. However, it really belongs to Anton Chekhov and it's in The Cherry Orchard. But it's a great line. When you're totally engrossed in the doing, you are changing or fixing the other person. You're doing this in terms of someone else, something else, not in terms of yourself. If it's in terms of yourself, it's indulgent and it's masturbatory. Remember what we said with William Shakespeare. He involves, includes, incorporates. There's 3 great books that I will encourage you to look at. In my book, Willpower, chapter 18, 19, and 20, explains basic doings and basic needs. Another great book is by the late William Ball, A Sense of Direction. If you don't read the whole thing, there is one chapter just on verbs. His chapter on trigger verbs is extraordinary. If you want a book that explains it incomplete, then I would ask you to read Larry Moss's The Intent to Live. He goes over given circumstances like no one that I have ever known. He also studied with Stella Adler. I want to do 2 more things before we wrap up this session. I want to talk about positive choices, and then I'm going to do a quick synopsis of a scene from the Scottish play. I'm encouraging you to play positive choices because they make the play move forward. They build, and they're also more interesting. Negative choices basically stop the play. They're boring. They always turn comedies into dramas. You must know that if you're in a comedy, you must make comic choices to preserve the comedy. When you make dramatic choices, it all of a sudden becomes a completely different play. Both Stella and Mira and Uda said, anger is the weakest choice. Never choose anger. If you do, know that there are 7 steps before you get to anger. I believe those 7 steps was a metaphor, that there's not exactly 7 steps because all 3 of them never answered us what the 7 steps were. What they were saying is it takes multiple things to happen before someone reaches that point of explosion. When it happens, it's like putting a match to gasoline. It explodes and it's over, and you must go on to a new action. Irony is used a lot in Shakespeare. Irony teaches people, instructs people. It's very subtle. You say one thing, you point out another thing by telling them just a little bit of truth. Sarcasm is completely different. Sarcasm tears people down. It trashes people. However, when we watch sitcoms, you will see many characters that their whole purpose is just to be sarcastic, but they're sarcastically comic. In I Love Raymond, the wife only said sarcastic things to Raymond, but that was to teach him to get her comedy across. Many times with the Kate Petruchio, the person playing Kate says that she's putting Petruchio down, that she's mocking him. These are negative choices. For me, I think that her father's only introduced her to old men, boring old men. All of a sudden, this guy comes along. He's different. He's gregarious. He's out there. He's talking to her. He seems to be interested in her. He wordsmiths with her. He plays with her. He chases her. We said yesterday, who's the chaser and who's the chasee in rhetoric? Who's the seducer and who's the seducee? In his own comic way, he seduces her. So I think she plays along because it's the most fun she's ever had. I don't think she's stopping the action by making negative choices. Humor unlocks pain. That's a positive choice. Shakespeare will put you in the worst situation and give you humorous choices to unlock the pain, because he knew humor was a dignified way of dealing with life. When we deal with humor / comedy, I need you to know that there's 3 different kinds of comedy. There's high comedy, middle comedy, and low comedy. High comedy is only words, when people are very, very witty and the words are what is the most important. Middle comedy is basically the TV that all of us watch. It is 2 people trying to get together, and it's difficult, and all the things they go through. That's middle comedy. Low comedy is either the really physical, slipping on the banana peel, tripping, bumping heads, bumping butts, or it's the blue material. It's the double entendres. It's the bawdy material. You must know which layer, high, middle, low, that you are in, so you know how to behave accordingly. Another way of making a positive choice, I ask you, is it a yes line or is it a no line? Yesterday in rhetoric, when we did Beatrice and Benedict, Benedict says, Lady Beatrice, have you wept all this while? And she says, yea, and I will weep a while longer. For me, that's a yes line. You could say, yes, yea, and I will weep a while longer. Benedict's response is a no line. He says, I will not desire that. No, I will not desire that. Yesterday we talked in rhetoric about agree and disagree. This is a further way of making it positive. Is it yes or is it no? The other way of making your choices positive is, again, yesterday we talked about the 1 + 1 = 2. You lie in faith, for you are called, plain Kate. The meat always comes at the end. If you know what's important is at the end of the line lots of times, or at the end of your rhetorical thought, then it keeps you moving forward and encourages you to build in a positive way. Play positive choices to make your story move forward. Be true to the text or your script. Shakespeare writes, "For Polonius, unto thine own self be true." My thing is, be a strategist and not a slugger. And the final thing is, have fun. Let's do the Scottish play, Act 1, Scene 7. The scene begins with Mackers coming out and delivering an incredible soliloquy. The first line is, "If it were done, when 'tis done, then 'twere well it were done quickly." We said the first line sets up the rhetorical argument. He's saying, if I'm going to kill the king, I got to do it fast because I'm chickening out. In the middle of the speech, he says, "Besides, this Duncan hath borne his faculties." He's changed his mind. He's saying Duncan's a really good guy. At the end of the speech, he says, "I have no spur to prick the sides of my intent, but only vaulting ambition." In other words, it's my ambition. I'm not going to do it. Then the most important thing happens. He's alone. When Mackers is alone, I feel he weakens. But when Lady M comes on, it's when they get strong. She comes on and she's been at the party. There's a big feast going on. And she wants to know what he's doing out there. I don't think she's angry. She just says, come on back in. He says, "We will proceed no further in this business. He hath honored me of late, and I have bought golden opinions from all sorts of people, which would be worn now in their newest gloss, not cast aside so soon." So he says, "No, we're not going to do it. I'm out of there." Now she has a real need. He's defied her. He's not fulfilling her goals. Her need is to win. Duncan must die, and Mackers must kill him. She starts out with, "Was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself?" So she's saying, are you out of your mind? She's using the pronoun you. In the middle of the speech, she says, "Such I account thy love." Now thy, informal, friendly, and she's close to him. She gets close to him, and she starts using seductive things about his manhood. And then the final thing she says, "And live a coward in thine own esteem, letting I dare not wait upon I would, like the poor cat in the adage." The poor cat in the adage, a metaphor. The metaphor is cats are afraid to put their hands in the water to get the fish. So she's calling him a coward. In rehearsal, I said to my Lady M, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm emasculating him." And she then said she wanted to go further. So we got the intimacy coach and we got the stage combat coach. She said, "When I say that, I want to twist his genitals and make him feel what's really going on." His next line is, "I prithee peace." Please, I pray you, I prithee, up the chain of being. She had to do something that got him that elevated. For us, it really worked. Then she delivers a speech and she says, "What beast was it that made you do this?" She's telling him she likes it when he's a beast, when he's rough. She says that she would take a baby from her nipple and smash its brains out. "I have given suck and know how tender 'tis to love the babe that milks me. I would, while it was smiling in my face, have plucked my nipple from its boneless gums and dashed the brains out, had I so sworn as you have done to this." She says she'd kill babies. He then changes. She has accomplished her goal and satisfied the need in the moment to get him back on track to kill Duncan. He does, but he questions it. We use this example of, if we should fail, we fail. I believe, again, she uses her sexuality. She says, but screw your courage to the sticking place and will not fail. Then she tells him this great story about how easy it is to get Duncan killed. What happens? Mackers then is excited. We'll do it. We'll do it. And he tells the story over what she just said. When we have marked with blood those sleepy two of his own chamber and use their very daggers that they have done. And what does Lady M do? She does, oh, honey, you're so smart. You're so strong. I need you to know that Shakespeare does this a lot. Lots of times the women come up with a great idea and the men claim it. In my opinion, she played to win. Her basic need was to win, kill the king. Mackers, his beginning need was to be happy. He's in pain. He doesn't really want to kill the king. She changes that. She changes his need. He defies her, and then she chides him, and then she gives him all the reasons of why she would do it, which makes him again doubt his manhood, and he says he has to do it. They both had really strong needs, and they both had really strong doings. This is a very short version of what's going on in this scene. You can take it and go much further with it. You start out by doing all of the steps that we did to put together the blueprint, the musical score, and you understand that you used all these things, the little words as rudders. Your verbs, however, which we've talked about today, are the propellers. They move it forward, and you play positive choices. This will then give you rich, full characters. I wish you all the luck in the world with this kind of work. The only way to accomplish it is by doing it over and over and over again. For me, the journey of learning to play actions has been a lifetime journey and goal. And every time I go to direct a play or a scene, it's a brand new experience with two new people to find their uniqueness in a way of satisfying the character's needs and the character's doings. Good luck. I'm sure you'll be very successful. And I would like to end today with a quote. Today's quote is from The Taming of the Shrew. No profit grows where is no pleasure ta'en. In brief, sir, study what you most affect.